Hello legends and super legends, welcome to Veloharmony. I wanted to finish the request that came from our super legend Wesley Steven today. This is a third question he had and I wanted to just get that out of the way. I could not put it with the prior video. I had answered his other two questions in because it was unrelated. His question centered around the cabling on bicycles, internal cabling versus the external cabling that's been around for the longest time. So I want to read what he wrote on here. He says, what is your preference for externally routed cables versus the more aerodynamic internally housed cables? As a practical matter, isn't it more difficult to transport your bike on a car rack without protecting the cable running under the top tube? That was his question. I'll start by answering by saying, when I put a bike on a car rack, in fact, when I transport my bicycles, my car, I put it inside the car because the seat lays down. Now, let's say, for example, when I ride with Paul, we put our bikes outside on a rack. The cabling runs under the top tube of the bike. I don't even know if you can even see it. We've got three little donuts that we put on cables. And the reason that the little donuts are there is to keep the cable from hitting your frame too much, like when you carry it or if it bounces or whatever. That's really all that's there. When you're transporting your bike, you can't hurt those cables. Who cares? It's a wire cable that's wrapped. I mean, you're not going to hurt them. So I don't think about it. I put it on the rack and go. If you've got a Yakima or a Thule where you're attaching the fork, that's not an issue. I think he's talking about the racks where you place the top tube on holders, which is what Paul has behind his truck. Nothing hurts the cable. The cable just sits in there. There are slots in there. Like right here where it's on this stand. It's hard for you to see. I'm not going to move the camera. The stand has a foot like this for the top tube to sit in, like this. The cable just slips into whatever available space is between it because it's kind of like stairs. They graduated it for the frame to sit in. So, you know, the cable just stays there. Even if it was a complete circle, the cable will just rest up against the holder. And since you've got those donuts, that keeps it off your frame. You know, most of the shops just put donuts on there. So I really want to spend a little bit of time talking about his comment where he used the word aerodynamically internally housed cables. Internal housing is a royal pain for people, for mechanics. I work on bikes. None of my bikes have them by choice. Because when I was getting them built, I was given the option. I turned them down. When you bring your bike to me to work on and you have internal housing cable, I have to charge you more labor. It takes me more time if I'm working on your cables. I've got to use a line to fish it through, drop it exactly through here. Aerodynamic, really? The cable that externally routed is like a guitar string. How much drag is on that cable under your top tube or under the down tube? I mean, really? I don't even think it's measurable. I don't even think it's an issue. The pain that the people working on the bikes go through with cables, if you poll mechanics, they will tell you, get rid of them. They're a pain. On time trial bikes, they're even more of a pain. So I, for one, will not buy any bike that has internally housed cables because they're just not necessary and they're a royal pain to work on. So if you go online and you type in internally routed cables versus external cable routing, you will see what I'm talking about. Overwhelmingly, people who work on bikes hate them. They're not necessary. There is no problem that existed that it solves. That's what I talk about. They come up with stuff that it's not necessary. If it's a problem you're fixing, fine. You know, it's just not necessary. So you pay more for the frame when they have internal routed cables, and you pay more to have it worked on. So do you think it's necessary? What aerodynamic gains are you getting? None. So his question, I think he's just trying to find out and understand. So if you're buying a bike and it comes with internally routed cables and it's a deal, yeah, by all means get it. I just need you to understand that the person who's working on it has to charge you more. It takes more time when we're dealing with those cablings just to even set up a frame. You got to hook it up and fish the line through it. It's just a pain. It's not worth it. You know, I don't see the benefit. You know, there is no problem with the externally routed cable. In fact, I personally prefer them. They're better to deal with, and it's not an issue transporting or not transporting them. So I don't believe that it solves a problem, and I think that they work fine. It's just that when you need to replace cable or when you need the bike set up, it's a pain. So you're not going to get a mechanic that will choose an internally routed cable over an external, because it just increases the time it takes to build a bike or replace the cabling. It's just a headache. So I don't see what problems they're solving. I don't believe they're necessary. I think it's just some kind of a ploy or a marketing thing. Somebody had a great idea. It may look pretty and all of that, but you know, I just don't see how it improves anything. So if they're doing it because of aerodynamics, for the pain that mechanics have to go through to set it up, I don't see what measurable aerodynamics it's solving. So I just wanted to do this quick video, and that's my belief. You may have a different stand, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree. But as a mechanic, you bring your bike to me with internally routed cables, I charge you more for labor because it takes me more time. It takes every mechanic more time to work on that cabling, if that's what you bring it in for. So I would charge you more to work on your bike with internally routed cables than another bike with externally routed cables if I were replacing your cabling or setting up your bike. That's just the reality of it. So yeah, it's just more of a headache. So if you think there's a benefit to it or it looks better aesthetically or whatever, I mean, you can barely see the cables on the frame. I mean, you know, if I stand to the side, you can't see it. I don't see what they're trying to solve. So to wrap up, I don't believe that there are measurable aerodynamic benefits from internally routed cables or external cables that are like a guitar string. Who measured it? Where are the numbers? So I wouldn't even use the number aerodynamic. It gets to where we're getting a little ridiculous. It does not matter. So if your frame has it, you like it, that's fine. I think it's just more of a aesthetic. It's a look. And if you like that look, that's great. Just know that you're paying more when you take it to the shop. And if you work on it yourself, it will take you longer. It's just, you know, that's just the way it is, because you have to get those things through the frame. So I just want to do that. I'm going to wrap up. Wesley, thanks for your questions. We appreciate you supporting the channel. And I want you to know that if you have additional questions, feel free to send them to customerservices@veloharmony.com, and within 24 hours, you will get a response. So no matter what, get out there, get your K's in.